Now speaking, Kim Watkins, Vice President, Investor Relations. I am hosting Intuit's third quarter fiscal 2023 conference call with CEO Sasan Goodarzi and CFO Michelle Clatterbuck. We are providing forward-looking statements and ask that everyone review our press release, Form 10-K for fiscal 2022 and other SEC filings to understand the risks associated. The numbers discussed will be available on a non-GAAP basis and reconciled in today's press release. All growth rates refer to the current period. Now speaking, Sasan Goodarzi, Chief Executive Officer. Intuit reported third-quarter revenue growth of 7%, lower than expectations, but exceeded operating income and earnings per share guidance. Revenue and operating income are expected to grow double digits and margins expand more than previously guided. TurboTax experienced a unique tax season and IRS returns declined 2% through July 31st, while DIY category share of total IRS returns declined nearly 0.75 of a point. Credit Karma Money saw 45% growth in the number of TurboTax online customers who received a refund advance in a Credit Karma Money account. QuickBooks payroll customers grew double digits this quarter and payments saw 20% total online payment volume growth. MailChimp saw stronger paid customer growth and higher revenue per customer, driving several-point revenue acceleration. Intuit is investing heavily in data and AI capabilities to deliver accelerated innovation. Now speaking, Michelle Clatterbuck, Chief Financial Officer. In Q3 of fiscal 2023, Intuit reported revenue of $6 billion, GAAP operating income of $2.8 billion and non-GAAP operating income of $3.4 billion. GAAP diluted earnings per share of $7.38 and non-GAAP diluted earnings per share of $8.92. In the consumer group, there was a 3% revenue growth, driven by total returns filed with the IRS, down 2%, DIY category of total IRS returns, down 0.75%, share of total IRS returns, down 80 basis points, and average revenue per return, up 12%. Pro-tax group revenue declined 5% and full-year revenue growth is expected to be 2 to 3%. Small business and self-employed group revenue grew 21%, and online ecosystem revenue grew 23%. Credit Karma delivered revenue of $410 million, down 12%. Intuit finished the quarter with $4.3 billion in cash and investments and $6.6 billion in debt on its balance sheet, repurchased $483 million of stock, and paid a dividend of 78 cents per share, 15% increase. The company expects full-year total company revenue growth of 12 to 13%, GAAP operating income growth of 19 to 20%, non-GAAP operating income growth of 21%, GAAP diluted earnings per share growth of 7 to 8%, and non-GAAP diluted earnings per share growth of 20%. For Q4, guidance includes revenue growth of 9 to 10%, GAAP loss per share of $0.34, $0.29, and non-GAAP earnings per share of $1.43, $1.48. Now speaking, Sasan Goodarzi, Chief Executive Officer. Michelle has been with Intuit for 20 years and her last earnings call was acknowledged. The company is confident in its AI-driven expert platform strategy and 5 big bets, which are mission-critical to customers. Questions were opened up following the statement. Deutsche Bank analyst Brad Zelnick inquired, can Intuit help customers overcome lack of confidence with their live platform and generative AI in light of increasing competition from LLMs? Did Michelle have visibility into how tax season would play out and did Intuit scale back investments at the end of the season? Sasan Goodarzi replied, I have been on record for 4+ years saying I believe artificial intelligence, AI, is going to ignite global growth. To answer the question about confidence, we are using AI and machine learning along with our 360 view of the customer to make things easier, more digestible and more confidence-inspiring. We have accelerated investments in AI and generative AI to penetrate non-consumption. We believe this will accelerate innovation and help us do things we never imagined possible. Michelle Clatterbuck replied, last year during our 3- and 1-year planning process, we factored in potential economic uncertainty and ensured that we had the resources to deliver for customers and drive revenue growth. We identified discretionary levers such as travel, advertising, and moderating hiring that we could pull to maintain our earnings power. This has resulted in lower expenses and customer success with lower tax units. We are focused on maintaining company-level earning power, not just CG margins. Goldman Sachs analyst Kash Rangan inquired, Sasan, what is your plan for re-accelerating the tax business to reach the 8 to 12% longer-term target that has been set? How do you plan to grow the category and gain market share? Additionally, does generative AI open up more opportunities while potentially increasing competition from new entrants? Sasan Goodertsi replied, I experienced a $200 million impact this year due to lower returns. I believe we'll get back to a more normal environment. My TurboTax Live business is now a $1 billion plus business, growing 19%. We are investing in data and AI and believe it will be an accelerant for our 5% penetration of the $300 billion TAM. Evercore IC analyst Kirk Materne inquired, have you seen any changes in the small business sector since Q1, particularly in terms of the different verticals and the ability to upsell services such as payroll payments? Sasan Goodertsi replied, Kirk frames his answer in two dimensions. Small businesses are still growing overall, but have profit pressures in certain sectors like real estate and lending. Customers who have been with them longer tend to have more cash reserves than pre-pandemic, while new customers have less. On Kirk's platform specifically, payments volume is down 5%, but customer growth in mid-market is strong with double-digit U.S. payroll growth and migration to higher-end payroll offerings. They are resilient and expect sustained growth into next year. Morgan Stanley analyst Keith Weiss inquired, have the lower number of refunds and increased DIY filing impacted TurboTax's market share, and has the extended tax season caused any significant impact on this fiscal year? Sasan Goodertsi replied, TurboTax saw close to all of the tax filers who came into the category during the pandemic utilizing their do-it-yourself services. As a result, TurboTax saw its largest share of those filers, leading to a decrease in their overall share when they left the category. Extensions are attached to dollars, but it is not considered material to TurboTax's $14 billion company. Mizuho Securities analyst Siti Panigrahi inquired, I'm interested to learn what changes you have implemented that contributed to the mid to high teens growth in MailChimp, and how macroeconomic conditions have impacted your customer base's spending patterns on marketing. How do you expect this to change going forward? Sasan Goodertsi replied, I asked if the trend of increasing sales was sustainable going forward. Sasan Goodertsi replied, I've been consistently focused on the opportunity to bring together MailChimp and QuickBooks into one platform as the source of truth for running businesses. We're executing on that vision through improved website, business model innovation, product improvements, and doubling down on mid-market customers. By doing this, we have seen increases in paid conversion, paid customers, retention, and revenue per customer. I'm excited about the possibilities with data and AI for small businesses. Oppenheimer and Company analyst Scott Schneeberger inquired, have the IRS year-to-date decline of 1% and the projected 2% decline through the end of July been driven primarily by the pandemic? What is causing the discrepancy between the anticipated unit growth of -5% and revenue per return of +12%, with overall consumer segment revenue growth of 5 to 6%, rather than the expected 7+? Sasan Goodertsi replied, we are making two assumptions based on the data from last year. We expect IRS returns to be down 2% this year and at a minimum, flat due to lack of stimulus and tax credits for pandemic-era filers. Our focus is on growing TurboTax Live with customer growth and revenue growth, leading to an average 12% increase in ARPC, average revenue per customer. Michelle Clatterbuck replied, I had some difficulty with the mute button, but I assured Sasan that some of the difference between numbers can be attributed to rounding, and not to worry about it. Sasan Goodertsi replied, I have identified 12 points of growth in the ARPC compared to the units we had previously. Michelle Clatterbuck replied, I received 12 points from the ARPC and anticipated a 5% decrease in units. BMO Capital Markets analyst Daniel Jester inquired, have Live customer retention and growth been impacted this year due to the factors mentioned on the call? Is the company seeing more customers from takeaways from competitors, or is there an increase in DIY customers trading up to Live? Sasan Goodertsi replied, we expect retention to be down a point plus due to pandemic-era filers who have since left the categories. We are pleased with the mix of customers on our Live platform, both those that did taxes themselves last year and those that were previously assisted. Our competition is mainly local mom-and-pop shops, from which we get many switches. We anticipate further scale for full-service penetration at a higher rate than today. Barclays analyst Raimo Lenschow inquired, can you explain the extra headwinds that the financial services industry faced in the first quarter of 2020, and how were you able to exceed your guidance despite these challenges? Sasan Goodertsi replied, in Q3, Credit Karma saw a 45% increase in the number of TurboTax customers opting to open Credit Karma Money accounts. This was driven by the combination of their unique Karma guarantee and integrations with TurboTax and other partners. This success has led Credit Karma to be more confident in improving the guidance they provided earlier this year. MoffettNathanson analyst Jackson Ader inquired, have you identified any risks associated with the Inflation Reduction Act of last year, which was accompanied by a study released as part of the IRS direct filing program? Sasan Goodertsi replied, free tax software is already available to all consumers with high awareness and has been for 4+ years. Credit Karma entered the market with 100 million customers and was later acquired by another large player. The new free tax software will cost taxpayers billions of dollars. Credit Karma's vision is to become a consumer platform of choice, monetizing beyond tax with $35 billion TAM in tax, less than $5 billion for do-it-yourself, and focusing on the other $30 billion. The IRS study is not a threat to Credit Karma. Bank of America Merrill Lynch analyst Brad Sills inquired, are there other contributors to the 12% expected increase in TurboTax ARPU this year, besides TurboTax Live? What do you attribute the strength of TT Live to, and has the success been building over the years? Sasan Goodertsi replied, I have increased ARPU through TurboTax Live's disruptive pricing. This year, I was excited to find that the full-service offering had a Net Promoter Score of 84, the highest across the company. We also found success in coupling our go-to-market strategy with experts, AI and human, to help customers understand their refunds and balance due. As we move into next year, I believe there is potential for even more growth. Sasan Goodertsi replied, I expressed my appreciation for the questions asked, thanked our employees and customers for their focus and involvement in our successful franchise, and invited everyone to attend our upcoming earnings.